Alien girl fainted after watching the human snap his broken bones back into place. The crimson dust of Proxima 9 swirled around Daxter Rude's boots as he limped through the alien wasteland. Blood trickled down his armor, leaving a trail that would make tracking him child's play for the bandits he'd just escaped. His hand throbbed where he'd smashed it, breaking out of his restraints, but that was the least of his concerns right now. The stolen data crystal in his chest pocket was worth more than a few broken bones. "Fucking amateurs," he muttered, checking his makeshift splint. The bandits had clearly never dealt with a human prisoner before. If they had, they would have known better than to use standard restraints. The look on their faces when he deliberately dislocated his thumb to slip free had been almost worth the pain. The alien landscape stretched endlessly before him, all rust-colored rocks and twisted formations that looked like they had been sculpted by a madman. The twin suns beat down mercilessly, their combined heat making his armor feel like an oven. But he couldn't stop. Not with what he was carrying. A movement caught his eye. A flash of blue against the red terrain. Daxter dropped into a crouch, his good hand reaching for the plasma pistol he lifted from one of the guards. Through the swirling dust, he made out a slender figure examining what appeared to be some kind of scientific equipment. The figure turned, and Daxter found himself staring at the most striking alien he'd ever encountered. Her skin was a deep, iridescent blue that seemed to shimmer in the harsh sunlight. Long, silvery hair flowed around her face like liquid metal, framing features that were almost, but not quite, human. Her eyes, when they met his, were the color of polished steel. She wore some kind of form-fitting suit made of a material that looked like living metal, covered in intricate patterns that shifted and changed as she moved. Her pointed ears twitched as she noticed him, and her hand moved to what he assumed was a weapon at her hip. "Stay where you are," she called out in perfect universal standard. "This is a restricted research zone." Daxter was about to respond when his broken hand sent a spike of agony up his arm. The adrenaline was wearing off, and he needed to set the bones before they started healing wrong. Human rapid healing was great, except when it meant bones could fuse incorrectly in a matter of hours. "Sorry about this," he grunted, more to himself than to her. "This is gonna be loud." Before she could react, he grabbed his mangled hand with his good one. With practiced efficiency, this wasn't his first rodeo. He aligned the broken bones by feel. The alien researcher's eyes widened as she realized what he was about to do. "Wait, don't!" Crack! The sound of bones snapping back into place echoed across the barren landscape. Daxter bit back a curse, his vision swimming for a moment as fresh pain flooded his system. When his sight cleared, he saw the alien woman swaying on her feet, her steel-colored eyes rolling back in her head. "Oh shit," he muttered, lunging forward just in time to catch her before she hit the ground. "Come on, lady. This is not the time to pass out on me." The sound of engines in the distance made him curse again. The bandits were coming, and now he had an unconscious alien to deal with. He couldn't leave her here. Who knew what those criminals would do to her? Besides, she'd seen him, which meant she was involved now, whether she liked it or not. "This day just keeps getting better," he growled, carefully lifting her limp form. Her body was surprisingly light, almost fragile feeling despite her height. "Hope you don't mind a little adventure, Blue." The cave system Daxter discovered provided a perfect temporary shelter from both the pursuing bandits and the harsh elements of Proxima 9. The natural formation curved deep into the crimson rock face, offering multiple chambers and passages that would make it difficult for anyone to track them. He gently laid the unconscious alien woman on a relatively smooth portion of the cave floor, using his pack as a makeshift pillow for her head. The bioluminescent fungi growing along the cave walls cast an ethereal blue glow that complemented her skin tone, making her appear almost ethereal. Daxter took a moment to properly examine his hand in the dim light. The bones had set correctly, and his enhanced healing was already kicking in. He flexed his fingers carefully, testing the range of motion. The pain was manageable now, more of a dull throb than the sharp agony from earlier. A soft moan drew his attention back to his companion. Her eyes fluttered open, those remarkable silver irises taking a moment to focus. When they landed on him, she bolted upright, hand instinctively reaching for her hip where her weapon should have been. "Easy there, Blue," Daxter said, holding up his hands in a universal gesture of peace. "Your weapon's right here." He nodded toward where he'd carefully placed her sidearm, within her sight but just out of immediate reach. "I'm not going to hurt you." She stared at him, then at his bandaged hand, and he could see the memory of what had happened flash across her face. You reset your own broken bones?" she said, her voice a mixture of horror and fascination. "How are you even conscious after that?" Dexter couldn't help but grin. "Human biology, we're tougher than we look." "Clearly," she touched her temple, wincing slightly. "I apologize for my reaction. I've never seen anything like that before. My name is Jyla Unvari, xenobiologist with the Galactic Science Academy." "Dexter Rue," he replied, noting how her eyes lingered on his form. "And no need to apologize. Not the first time someone's fainted at my party tricks." A slight purple tinge colored her cheeks. Was that a blush? "I did not faint. I merely experienced a temporary loss of consciousness due to unexpected stimuli." "Right, that's totally different from fainting." Her eyes narrowed, but he caught the slight upturn at the corner of her mouth. "You're making fun of me." "Maybe a little." He shifted closer, noting how she didn't move away. "So, Dr. Unvari, want to tell me what a GSAO xenobiologist is doing in restricted bandit territory?" The purple tinge deepened. "I could ask you the same question, Mr. Rude. Those aren't standard issue research tools you're carrying." Daxter patted the data crystal in his chest pocket. "Let's just say I'm in acquisitions." "A thief, you mean?" "I prefer independent contractor, and I only steal from bad people." Jyla's expression grew serious. "Like the people who have been stealing my research data?" That got his attention. Daxter pulled out the data crystal, watching her eyes lock onto it. "This wouldn't happen to be research data about human biological capabilities, would it?" "How did you—" She stopped, realization dawning. "You were hired to retrieve my stolen data." "Small galaxy." He held up the crystal. "Care to tell me why the Crimson Cartel was so interested in your research about humans?" Jyla moved closer, and Daxter became acutely aware of her presence. Her metallic suit caught the blue light from the fungi, creating mesmerizing patterns that drew his eye to her curves. The air between them seemed to charge with electricity. "My research focuses on human adaptability and resilience," she said, her voice dropping lower. "Your species' ability to survive and thrive in conditions that would kill most sentient beings is remarkable. The way you process pain, heal from injuries, adapt to new environments." Her hand reached out, hovering near his bandaged one. "May I?" Daxter nodded, trying to ignore how his pulse quickened as her cool fingers gently examined his injury. Her touch was clinical at first, but then lingered, becoming something else entirely. "Fascinating," she murmured. "The bones are already beginning to knit. Your pain threshold must be extraordinary. Want to test some other thresholds?" The words were out before he could stop them. Instead of pulling away, Jyla's silver eyes met his, darkening with interest. "That would be an intriguing area of research." The tension between them crackled like static electricity. Daxter was acutely aware of how close they were, how the cave's intimate space seemed to push them together. Her alien beauty was intoxicating, and the way she looked at him like he was a fascinating puzzle she wanted to solve was doing things to his self-control. A distant explosion shattered the moment. They both tensed, years of training kicking in. "The cartel," Jyla whispered. "They're sweeping the area." "They want your research that badly?" She nodded grimly. "Human biological capabilities in the wrong hands. It could change the balance of power in the galaxy. The cartel wants to create weapons, enhance their soldiers. They don't understand that human adaptability isn't just physical. It's tied to your emotional capacity, your willpower. Like the ability to reset broken bones while making witty remarks." That earned him a small smile. "Precisely. Your species doesn't just endure. You face adversity with remarkable spirit. It's attractive." The way she said attractive made his temperature rise. "Just my spirit that's attractive?" "Perhaps we should conduct a more thorough examination," she suggested, her fingers trailing up his arm. "For science, of course." "Of course," Daxter agreed, closing the distance between them. "Can't stand in the way of scientific progress." Another explosion, closer this time, interrupted them. Daxter cursed under his breath. "Rain check on the examination, Doc." Jyla's expression mixed disappointment with determination. "We need to move deeper into the caves. I have a research base hidden in the network. We'll be safe there, and, she gave him a meaningful look. "We can continue our discussion about human resilience in private." Lead the way, Daxter grinned, gathering their gear. I'm always happy to contribute to scientific understanding. As they moved deeper into the cave system, Daxter couldn't help but think that this mission had taken an unexpectedly pleasant turn. Between protecting valuable research data and exploring inter-species relations with a beautiful alien scientist, things were definitely looking up. Jyla's hidden research base was a marvel of alien engineering, seamlessly integrated into the natural cave formations. Advanced equipment lined the crystalline walls, their soft hums creating a soothing ambient backdrop. The main chamber opened into several smaller rooms, each dedicated to different aspects of her research. Daxter whistled appreciatively as he took in the sophisticated setup. Not bad for a backup facility. The Galactic Science Academy spares no expense for potentially groundbreaking research, Jyla replied, activating the base's security systems. The entrance sealed behind them with a satisfying hiss. We should be safe here. The lighting adjusted automatically, bathing them in a warm glow that made Jyla's blue skin shimmer like sunlight on ocean waves. She moved to a central console, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. I need to check if any of my other data caches have been compromised. Daxter approached, standing close enough to feel the subtle heat radiating from her body. Mind if I clean up first? Been wearing this armor since my escape. Jyla's silver eyes flickered over him, lingering on the places where his armor had been damaged during his escape. The decontamination chamber is through there, she gestured to a doorway. There are fresh clothes in the storage unit. As Daxter headed toward the indicated room, his comm unit chirped. He pulled out the device, noting Jyla's interested gaze. The holographic message was from his employer, Commander Richards of the Human Defense Force. Rude, the commander's gruff voice filled the room. Status report. Data retrieved as requested, sir. Currently secured with... He glanced at Jyla, who nodded slightly. Doctor? Antivari of the GSA. Richard's hologram flickered. Dr. Anvari. Well, this complicates things. The situation's bigger than we thought, Rude. That research isn't just about human biological capabilities. It's about our potential for evolution. Jyla stepped forward, her professional demeanor shifting to intense focus. Commander, my research indicates that humans possess untapped genetic potential. Your ability to adapt and heal isn't just remarkable, it's unprecedented in galactic history. Which is why certain parties want to weaponize it, Richards growled. The Crimson Cartel is just a middleman. They're working for someone bigger. The Dominion, Jyla breathed, her fingers unconsciously brushing against Daxter's arm. They've been trying to access my research for months. Daxter felt his muscles tense. The Dominion was a shadowy organization of xenobiologists and genetic engineers known for their extreme experiments. What exactly did you discover about us, Doc? Jyla's expression softened as she looked at him. Your species isn't just resilient. You're evolving at an accelerated rate. The way you process pain, heal from injuries, adapt to new environments, it's not just biological. There's something more, something almost... She hesitated. Magical about it. Keep that data secure, Richards ordered. I'll send extraction coordinates in 6 hours. Richards out. The hologram vanished, leaving them in charged silence. Daxter was acutely aware of Jyla's proximity, the way her breath quickened slightly when their eyes met. I should really get out of this armor, he said, his voice rougher than intended. Yes, Jyla agreed, but made no move to step away. For research purposes, I should probably monitor the decontamination process to observe human adaptation to different environmental conditions. Daxter felt a smile tugging at his lips. Very scientific of you. I'm nothing if not thorough in my observations, she murmured, following him into the decontamination chamber. The decontamination chamber's soft blue light cast gentle shadows as Daxter began removing his battered armor. Jyla's scientific detachment wavered as she watched the process, her silver eyes widening at each new revelation of his muscular form. Your cellular regeneration is remarkable, she said, her voice slightly breathless. The bruising from your escape is already fading. Daxter turned to face her, noting how her metallic suit seemed to ripple in response to her quickening pulse. Just the bruising you can see, he said with a slight grimace. Got a few more hidden under what's left of this armor? Perhaps I should examine them more thoroughly, Jyla suggested, stepping closer. For research purposes, of course. Of course, Daxter agreed, his voice roughening as she reached out to trace a partially healed cut on his shoulder. Wouldn't want to compromise scientific integrity. The touch of her cool fingers against his skin sent electricity through his nerve endings. The decontamination field hummed around them, its energy seeming to enhance every sensation. "Your body temperature is elevating," Jyla observed, her professional tone belied by the way she pressed closer. "Heart rate increasing, fascinating." "That's not from the injuries," Daxter murmured, catching her hand and pulling her against him. Her metallic suit adjusted automatically, becoming softer, more yielding. "No?" Her free hand traced patterns across his chest. "What other hypothesis should I explore?" Instead of answering, Daxter kissed her. The contact sent sparks of energy through them both, her natural bioluminescence flaring in response to his touch. Her metallic suit flowed like quicksilver, responding to her desires. "This is highly irregular research protocol," Jyla gasped as his lips found her neck. "Want me to stop?" "Don't you dare," she growled, pulling him back for another kiss. I need extensive data." The decontamination field adjusted its parameters, creating a cushioning field of energy around them as they sank to the floor. Every touch brought new discoveries. Every kiss deepened their connection. Their passion built like a gathering storm, enhanced by the chamber's swirling energies. Later, as they lay entwined on the chamber's soft floor, Jyla traced the rapidly healing scratches on Daxter's shoulder. "Remarkable," she whispered. "Your healing factor has increased by 47% since our first meeting." "Maybe you're just a good influence," he chuckled, running his fingers through her silken hair. "It's more than that." She propped herself up on an elbow, her expression serious despite their intimate position. "Your species' ability to adapt isn't just physical. Your emotional connections, your passions, they actually enhance your natural abilities." "Are you saying I heal faster because I'm attracted to you?" "I'm saying humans are extraordinary." Her fingers found his newly healed hand. "You don't just endure pain, you transform it into strength. You don't just survive, you thrive. And when you love," she paused, color flooding her cheeks, "you do so with your entire being." Daxter pulled her closer, marveling at how perfectly she fit against him. "Pretty profound observations from someone who fainted at the sight of me setting a broken bone." She swatted his chest playfully. "I told you, I did not faint. I was merely overwhelmed by your remarkable demonstration of human resilience." "Is that what we're calling it now?" Their playful banter was interrupted by a series of urgent beeps from the main console. Jyla quickly wrapped herself in her metallic suit, which reformed around her body like liquid mercury. "The base's sensors have detected multiple ships entering the atmosphere," she reported, studying the readings. "They're not cartel vessels." Daxter was already pulling on his cleaned armor. "Dominion? Most likely. They must have tracked the data crystal's unique signature." She turned to him, her professional mask slipping to reveal genuine concern. "Daxter, if they get their hands on this research—" "They won't," he assured her, checking his weapons. "But we need to move. How far is the nearest spaceport?" 3 hours through the cave system." She gathered her essential research equipment. "There's an underground transport we can use." Daxter grabbed her arm gently before she could rush off. "Hey, about what happened?" Jyla silenced him with a kiss that left him breathless. "That was definitely worth fainting over," she whispered against his lips. "Now let's go, save the galaxy." The underground transport system was a testament to forgotten alien engineering, its sleek design somehow both ancient and futuristic. As Daxter and Jyla sped through the crystalline tunnels, the vehicle's soft hum was punctuated by the rhythmic beeping of Jyla's portable scanner. "Your healing rate continues to accelerate," she observed, studying the readouts. "The bone density in your previously injured hand has increased by another 23% in just the last hour." Daxter flexed his hand, noting the complete absence of pain. "That's not normal, even for human standards." "No, it isn't." Jyla's fingers danced across her datapad. "Your proximity to me seems to be catalyzing something within your genetic structure. The emotional and physical connection we've established appears to be triggering dormant evolutionary pathways." "So what you're saying is I'm literally getting stronger because I'm falling for you?" Daxter grinned, but his expression turned serious when he saw her intense gaze. "It's more complex than that. The ancient texts I discovered in these caves suggest that humans once had a much deeper connection to their evolutionary potential. Something about intense emotional bonds acting as catalysts for genetic advancement. The transport suddenly slowed, approaching what appeared to be a dead end. However, as they drew closer, the crystalline wall shimmered and parted, revealing a vast chamber that took Daxter's breath away. The space was enormous, its walls covered in luminescent symbols that pulsed with an inner light. At its center stood a massive structure that could only be described as a temple, its architecture defying conventional geometry. "What is this place?" Daxter whispered, helping Jyla from the transport. "The archive," she breathed, her silver eyes wide with wonder. "I found references to it in my research, but I never thought. This is where the precursors studied human potential." "The precursors? The ancient alien race that supposedly seeded life throughout the galaxy?" Jyla nodded, her hand finding his as they approached the temple. "They were particularly fascinated by humans. Your species wasn't just another of their experiments. You were their masterpiece." As they climbed the temple steps, Daxter felt a strange resonance within his body, as if every cell was responding to some unheard frequency. Jyla's grip on his hand tightened. The ancient stone beneath their feet began to pulse with a soft light that matched Daxter's footsteps. Each step sent ripples of energy through the structure, like raindrops on a still pond. Jyla's scientific detachment melted away as she watched the temple respond to his presence. "This is incredible," she breathed, her scanner forgotten in her hand. "The entire structure is resonating with your biological frequency." Daxter felt it too, a thrumming energy that seemed to flow through his veins, making every nerve ending tingle with awareness. The sensation intensified wherever Jyla touched him, as if her presence amplified the temple's effect. They reached a vast circular chamber whose walls were covered in shifting symbols. As Daxter approached them, the patterns began to glow brighter, and he felt a strange tingling sensation across his skin. "Daxter," Jyla gasped, "look at your arms." He glanced down to see similar symbols appearing on his skin, glowing with the same soft light as the walls. They weren't painful. If anything, they felt right, as if they had always been there, just waiting to be awakened. "The pattern," Jyla said, running her fingers along one of the glowing lines on his forearm. Her touch sent sparks of pleasure through his enhanced nervous system. "They're not just random designs, they're a form of genetic code, the precursors' instructions for human evolution." The chamber responded to their presence by creating a soft, cushioned area of crystals that seemed to grow from the floor itself. Daxter sat down, pulling Jyla with him. The crystals adjusted to support them perfectly, their glow matching the patterns on his skin. "Your body temperature has increased by 2 degrees, Jyla observed, pressing closer to him. "And your cellular regeneration rate is off the charts." Her scientific tone couldn't quite mask the desire in her voice. Daxter cupped her face in his hands, marveling at how the symbols on his skin seemed to reach out toward her. "Maybe we should conduct some more thorough research." "Purely for scientific purposes, of course," she agreed, her silver eyes darkening as she leaned in to kiss him. The temple's energy seemed to flow through them both as their passion grew, the symbols on Daxter's skin glowing brighter with each touch, each kiss. Jyla's metallic suit responded to her desires, shifting and flowing like liquid mercury until there was nothing between them but shared breath and burning need. Their joining was like nothing either had experienced before, each touch amplified by the temple's ancient power, each sensation heightened by their deepening connection. The patterns on Daxter's skin spread to Jyla wherever they made contact, creating a feedback loop of pleasure and power that left them both gasping. Later, as they lay among the softly glowing crystals that lined one of the temple's meditation chambers, Jyla traced the patterns that had appeared on Daxter's skin, patterns that matched the temple's ancient symbols. "The precursors believed that human evolution was tied to emotional connections," she explained, her touch sending shivers through his enhanced nervous system. "They theorized that humans would eventually evolve beyond mere physical forms, becoming beings of pure energy and emotion. Is that why the Dominion wants your research?" Daxter pulled her closer, marveling at how the patterns on his skin seemed to resonate with her touch. "Partly, but I think they misunderstand the fundamental truth." She propped herself up, her blue skin glowing with the temple's light. "They want to weaponize human potential, but it can't be forced or artificially replicated. It has to be awakened naturally, through genuine connection and emotion. A distant rumble interrupted their discussion. Daxter was on his feet instantly, his enhanced senses picking up vibrations through the temple floor. Multiple vehicles approaching through the tunnel system, he reported, quickly donning his armor. And something bigger coming from above. Jyla rushed to her equipment, checking the readings. The Dominion must have detected the temple's activation. Daxter, look at this. The scanner showed his biological readings alongside the temple's energy signatures. They were perfectly synchronized. The temple isn't just responding to you, Jyla explained excitedly. It's adapting to you, evolving with you. The precursors didn't just study human potential. They built this place to help awaken it. Great timing, Daxter muttered, checking his weapons. And any chance it comes with an instruction manual? Better. Jyla pressed her hand against a crystal panel, causing a hidden door to slide open. The temple's core. If we can access its main systems, we might be able to use its power to protect ourselves and the research. As they hurried through the hidden passage, Daxter felt the patterns on his skin burning with increased intensity. Each step seemed to connect him more deeply to the ancient structure and to Jyla. You know, he said, managing a smile despite the tension, when you fainted after watching me reset those bones, I never imagined it would lead to this. Jyla's answering laugh echoed through the crystalline corridor. When I regained consciousness, I never imagined I'd fall in love with my research subject. They reached the core chamber, a spherical space filled with swirling energy patterns that matched those on Daxter's skin. At its center floated a crystal matrix that pulsed in time with his heartbeat. The precursors believed that human emotion was the key to unlocking the next stage of evolution, Jyla said, studying the ancient controls. Not just love, but all of it. Courage, determination, sacrifice, hope. And what do you believe? She turned to him, her silver eyes glowing with an inner fire. I believe I've found living proof of their theories. Now, shall we show the Dominion why they should never underestimate human potential? The sound of explosions echoed from above as Daxter pulled her into a fierce kiss. Let's give them a demonstration they'll never forget. The temple's core chamber pulsed with ancient energy as Daxter and Jyla worked to understand its controls. The crystal matrix at its center had transformed into a complex interface, responding to both Daxter's enhanced biology and Jyla's scientific expertise. These readings are extraordinary, Jyla exclaimed, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. The temple isn't just a building, it's a vast biological computer designed to interface directly with human DNA. Daxter studied the swirling patterns that now covered most of his exposed skin. And you think it can share this evolution with other species? Not exactly. Jyla moved closer, her own skin beginning to shimmer where it came near his glowing patterns. The precursors designed humans to be catalysts. Your species doesn't just evolve, you help others evolve alongside you. The crystal matrix suddenly expanded, filling the chamber with a three-dimensional star map. At its center, a massive structure began to take shape, one that looked remarkably like the temple they were standing in. By the celestial core, Jyla breathed, it's not just a temple, it's a ship. The precursor's greatest achievement. They built it to help humanity take its next step, Daxter finished, somehow knowing the truth in his bones. The patterns on his skin pulsed in harmony with the ship's systems, each beat bringing new understanding. Jyla's scanner beeped urgently. Daxter, your genetic structure is becoming more fluid, more adaptable. The ship is teaching your DNA how to rewrite itself. As if to demonstrate, Daxter felt a sharp pain in his recently healed hand. Before their eyes, the bones began to shift and strengthen, forming new structures that looked both human and something more. The process should have been excruciating, but instead felt natural, right? Fascinating, Jyla murmured, reaching out to touch his transformed hand. The moment their skin made contact, energy arced between them. The ship's systems responded, creating a cocoon of light around them both. Your biology is responding to his changes, the ship's ancient AI spoke, its voice resonating through their minds. The bond you share is acting as a bridge between species. Daxter pulled Jyla closer, watching in amazement as her blue skin began to develop patterns that complemented his own. Is this safe for her? The process was designed for this purpose, the AI responded. Human evolution was never meant to be a solitary journey. Your species' greatest strength is your ability to form deep connections, to share your growth with others. The energy cocoon intensified, and Daxter felt every cell in his body singing with power. Jyla gasped as her own transformation continued, her natural bioluminescence harmonizing with his glowing patterns. I can feel everything, she whispered, pressing closer to him. Your thoughts, your emotions, they're becoming part of me. Their lips met in a kiss that sent shock waves through the ship's systems. The transformation accelerated, their bodies adapting and evolving together in perfect synchronization. The boundaries between them began to blur, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. The ship's AI continued to guide their evolution, showing them glimpses of humanity's intended destiny. They saw humans spreading throughout the galaxy, forming bonds with other species, helping them unlock their own evolutionary potential. Not through conquest or force, but through connection and love. A massive explosion rocked the temple ship, breaking their passionate embrace. The Dominion forces had breached the outer defenses. We need to complete the transformation, Jyla said urgently, her silver eyes now swirling with the same energy that coursed through Daxter. The ship can't launch until we fully activate its systems. And how do we do that? Daxter asked, though he already knew the answer. The patterns on their skin were drawing them together, urging them to complete what they'd started. By finishing what we began, she replied, pulling him toward the crystal matrix. By proving that love really can change the universe. Their union this time was transcendent, their evolved bodies connecting on levels that defied conventional physics. Each touch sent cascades of energy through the ship's systems. Each kiss awakened more of its ancient power. The precursors had designed it all. The ship, human evolution, even the potential for interspecies bonds, to be activated by the purest expression of emotion. As they reached the peak of their passion, the ship's systems surged to full power. The temple around them began to transform, ancient stone shifting into living metal, crystal matrices expanding into vast engines capable of crossing dimensions. They lay together in the aftermath, their evolved bodies glowing with shared power as the ship broke free from the planet's surface. The Dominion forces scattered before its majesty, their weapons useless against its advanced shields. I think I finally understand, Jyla said, tracing the now permanent patterns on Daxter's chest. Why I fainted when I first saw you heal yourself. I was sensing this potential in you, even then. My body knew what my mind couldn't comprehend. Daxter smiled, watching as the stars streaked past the ship's newly formed viewports. And now? Think you can handle watching me heal? Now? She replied, kissing him deeply. I can do it too. The precursor ship's crystalline corridors hummed with power as Daxter and Jyla raced toward the bridge. Warning signals pulsed through the living metal walls, their patterns matching the glowing symbols that now permanently adorned both their bodies. Multiple Dominion warships detected, the ship's AI announced. They've deployed their latest bioweapon technology. Through the view screen, they watched as massive black vessels emerged from hyperspace, their organic hulls writhing with unnatural modifications. The sight would have been terrifying if not for the new understanding they shared. They still think this is about weapons and power, Jyla said, her silver eyes flashing with determination. They don't understand what they're really fighting against. Daxter took her hand, feeling their shared energy surge through the contact. Then let's show them. The bridge responded to their presence, reshaping itself to accommodate their evolved forms. The control interfaces merged with their glowing patterns, allowing them to guide the ship through thought alone. The Dominion flagship is hailing us, the AI reported. A holographic image materialized before them, a tall, severe-looking figure whose body had been extensively modified with cybernetic enhancements. Grand Admiral Thex, leader of the Dominion's military forces. Dr. Navari, he said, his artificial eyes focusing on Jyla. Your transformation is interesting, but surely you realize this only proves the validity of our work. Join us, and we can perfect this process, create an army of evolved beings. That's not how this works, Jyla interrupted, her voice carrying new authority. Evolution isn't about armies or control. It's about connection, about growth through understanding. Then you leave us no choice. Thex's image flickered. Your research will advance our cause, one way or another. The transmission cut off as the Dominion ships opened fire. Their weapons were unlike anything Daxter had seen before, beams of corrupted genetic energy designed to forcibly alter their targets. But the precursor ship's shields held, transformed by the same power that flowed through its new commanders. Each impact was absorbed, translated, understood. They're trying to force evolution, Daxter realized, reading the ship's analysis. Trying to shortcut the process that took us days to achieve naturally. Because they don't understand that true evolution comes from this. Jyla pressed closer to him, their patterns brightening at the contact. From trust, from letting go of control. Their lips met in a passionate kiss, and the ship's systems surged in response. The bridge chamber adjusted to support them as they sank to the floor, their evolved bodies calling to each other with irresistible force. Their union this time was different. Not just an expression of love or a key to unlocking ancient technology, but a demonstration of what humanity's gift truly meant. Each touch sent waves of transformative energy through the ship's systems. Each shared breath enhanced its power. The Dominion's weapons continued to pound against the shields, but with each attack, the ship grew stronger, learning, adapting. Just as Daxter and Jyla's bodies had evolved through their connection, the vessel evolved through its bond with them. In the aftermath of their passion, they stood together at the bridge's center, their glowing patterns pulsing in perfect harmony. The ship had transformed around them, its crystalline structure now incorporating aspects of both their evolved biologies. Their flagship is preparing another attack, the AI warned. They've concentrated all their genetic weaponry into a single blast. Let them come, Daxter said, holding Jyla close. Show them what real evolution looks like. As the Dominion's massive energy beam approached, they reached out together, merging their consciousness with the ship's systems. The attack struck their shields and was absorbed completely. But instead of being destroyed, the corrupted energy was purified, transformed by the same process that had evolved them. The ship channeled it back toward the Dominion fleet, not as a weapon, but as an offering. The enemy vessels were bathed in pure evolutionary energy, their twisted organic components beginning to heal, to transform into something more natural. The soldiers inside felt it too, the possibility of growth through connection rather than control. Impossible, Thex's voice crackled through the comm. What are you doing to us? Showing you what you've been fighting against, Jyla replied. This is humanity's gift, not the power to control evolution, but the ability to share it, to help others grow through love rather than force. They watched as the Dominion ship's organic hulls transformed, their unnatural modifications falling away to reveal more harmonious forms. The soldiers inside were changing too, their forced cybernetic evolution giving way to more natural growth. The fleet is standing down, the AI reported. Their systems are adapting, learning. Daxter pulled Jyla into another kiss, feeling their patterns surge with shared joy. Not bad for a guy who started this adventure by just resetting a few broken bones. She laughed against his lips. I still maintain that fainting was a perfectly reasonable response to witnessing the beginning of galactic evolution. Speaking of which, he grinned, feel like celebrating our victory? The bridge began to reshape itself again as Jyla pulled him close. For science, of course. Of course, Daxter agreed as their patterns began to glow brighter. Always for science. 1 month after the Dominion's transformation, the precursor ship hovered in high orbit above Earth, its crystalline structure reflecting the golden light of the rising sun. In the ship's newly evolved observation dome, Daxter and Jyla stood with former Grand Admiral Thex, watching as the first delegation of transformed Dominion scientists arrived at the Human Evolution Research Center. Sachon, still hard to believe, Thex mused, his once cybernetic body now restored to its natural form, enhanced by evolutionary energy rather than artificial modifications. All those years trying to force evolution when the key was in understanding humanity's gift for connection. Speaking of understanding, Jyla said, her silver eyes twinkling as she glanced at Daxter, we've made some interesting discoveries about our continued evolution. Daxter felt their shared energy pulse stronger at her words. Since their confrontation with the Dominion fleet, their bond had grown exponentially. The patterns on their skin had developed new complexities, suggesting capabilities they were only beginning to explore. The precursors designed humans to be catalysts, Jyla explained, pulling up a holographic display of their latest scans. But what we didn't realize is that the process is recursive. Each evolutionary step creates the potential for even greater advancement. Thex studied the data with newfound appreciation. And your intimate connection accelerates this process? Among other things, Daxter grinned, drawing Jyla closer. Their patterns brightened at the contact, sending ripples of energy through the ship's systems. Turns out love really is the most powerful force in the universe. After Thex departed to coordinate with the Earth delegation, Daxter and Jyla made their way to their private quarters, a chamber that had evolved with them, its crystalline walls responsive to their every need and desire. "Remember when you fainted at the sight of me resetting a few broken bones?" Daxter teased, pulling her into his arms. "Now look at us, catalyzing galactic evolution through the power of love." "I did not faint," Jyla protested, her hands tracing the increasingly complex patterns on his chest. "I was merely overwhelmed by my first exposure to human potential. And now?" "Now," she purred, her metallic suit flowing like liquid mercury in response to her desires, "I find myself constantly overwhelmed by you in the most delightful ways." Their kiss sent cascades of evolutionary energy through the ship, the patterns on their skin blazing with inner light. Each touch brought new awareness, new potential, their bodies and minds growing ever closer to what the precursors had envisioned for humanity's future. The chamber adjusted to support them as their passion grew, creating a perfect environment for their union. Their evolved forms connected on levels that transcended physical reality, each intimate moment bringing them closer to understanding the infinite possibilities of their shared evolution. In the afterglow, they lay together watching Earth rotate slowly below, their patterns pulsing in perfect harmony. The ship's AI had detected new changes in their cellular structure, suggesting yet another evolutionary leap approaching. "The precursors knew," Jyla mused, tracing a newly formed pattern on Daxter's shoulder. "They knew that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in your ability to heal broken bones or survive harsh conditions. It was in your capacity for love. Real transformative love that could change the universe." "And here I thought I was just a simple guy trying to complete a mission," Daxter chuckled, kissing her forehead. "Instead, I found myself falling for the most brilliant xenobiologist in the galaxy. Who happened to faint at your displays of human resilience?" "You admitted it only because I now understand it wasn't just shock, it was a recognition. Some part of me knew, even then, that you would change everything." The ship's systems hummed with contentment around them, responding to their shared joy. Below, the first wave of voluntary evolution participants was preparing to begin their journey. Former Dominion scientists worked alongside human researchers, all of them finally understanding that true evolution couldn't be forced or controlled. It had to be embraced, shared, and most importantly, loved into being. "Ready to show the galaxy what humanity's really capable of?" Daxter asked, feeling new power stirring within them both. Jyla's answer was a kiss that sent ripples of evolutionary energy cascading through the ship and down to the planet below. Their love had already transformed one hostile force into allies. Now it was time to share that gift with the rest of the universe. As they came together again, their patterns blazing with ever-increasing potential, both knew that this was just the beginning. Their evolution would continue infinitely, each moment of connection bringing new understanding, new capabilities, new ways to share humanity's greatest gift with the galaxy. And it all started with a broken bone, a moment of human resilience, and an alien scientist who wasn't quite prepared for the power of human potential.